Salvete discipuli, hodie spectatis lecturam duodecimam capitis triginta duo. Comparison of adverbs, Volō, Mālō, Nōlō, and Proviso Clauses. Hodie discemus. Primum vocabula capitis triginta duo. Dende grammaticam capitis. We will learn the irregular verbs Volō, which means I wish, Mālō, which means I prefer, and Nōlō, meaning I don't want. And then we'll talk about adverbs, specifically the formation of positive adverbs, and then comparative and superlative adverbs. In other words, adverbs function like adjectives in that they have degrees as well. And then finally, we'll end with Proviso Clauses, which is another subordinate clause that takes the subjunctive. Nunc discemus verba vocabulorum capitis triginta duo. In hoc capita sunt sex verba Mālō, Nōlō, pateo, praebeo, promito, Volō. Primum verbum Mālō, mala, malui. Quae animalia habere mavis? Feles aut canes? Quid significat Mālō? Quae animalia habere mavis? Feles aut canes? Proximum verbum Nōlō, nola, nolui. In quodam episodio futuramatis, professor clamat se hoc in planeta habitara iam nolla. Quid significat nollo? Hoc in planeta habitara iam nollo. Proximum verbum pateo, patere, patui. In oratione notissima Cicero rogavit Catilinam an sentiret sua consilia omnibus sum denatoribus patere. Quid significat pateo? Omnia sua consilia patent omnibus senatoribus. Proximum verbum praebeo, praebere, praebui, praebitum. Sol terrae lucem praebet. Quid significat praebeo? Sol terrae lucem praebet. Proximum verbum promito, promittere, promisi, promissum. Omnes legionibus, or omnes legiones promitte. Quid significat promito? Ultimum verbum Volō, vella, volui. Deus vult, clamaverunt, equites Europae bellum in terra sacra gerentes. Voluit ne nuero Deus? Quid significat Volō? Nunc discemus nomina vocabulorum capitis triginta duo. In hoc capita sunt tria nomina: custodia, exercitus, paupertas. Primum nomen custodia, custodiae. Lictores fasces ferentes magistratibus rei publicae atqua principibus imperii Romani custodiam praebebant. Quid significat custodia? Proximum nomen exercitus, exercitus. Provinciales civitatem Romanam merere poterant, dum modo in cohortibus auxiliaribus exercitus Romani viginti quinque annos pugnarent. Quid significat exercitus? Ultimum nomen paupertas, paupertatis. Plurimi in paupertate vivunt, sed Divitissimi nihil agunt, nisi divitiores fiunt. Qui significat paupertas. Nunc discemus adjectiva vocabulorum capitis triginta duo. In hoc capita sunt tria adjectiva: dives, par, pauper. Primum adjectivum: dives. Plurimi in paupertate vivunt, sed divitissimi nihil agunt, nisi divitiores fiunt. Quid significat dives? Proximum adjectivum: par. Ille mihi par deo videtur, canit catulus, cum virum cum lesbia dicentem videat. Quid significat par? Ultimum adjectivum: pauper. Plurimi sunt pauperes, sed divitissimi nihil agunt, nisi divitiores fiunt. Quid significat pauper? Nunc discemus alias partes loquendi vocabulorum capitis triginta duo. In hoc capita est una conjunctio, dum modo. Conjunctio dum modo. Provinciales civitatem Romanam merere poterant, dum modo in cohortibus auxiliaribus exercitus Romani viginti quinque annos pugnarent. Quid significat dum modo? Okay, so in this chapter, we will learn 3 rather important irregular verbs. And as you've gotten to know, some of the most important and most used words in a language tend to be irregular because the general trend of linguistics is that the more a word is used, the more likely it is to evolve and become irregular. And so that is certainly the case with Volō, Mālō, and Nōlō. So let's start with Volō, wele, wolui. Okay, this means to wish or to want. Okay, obviously a very useful and common word in any language. Okay, and as you've seen with other irregular verbs like pharaoh, the most irregular forms you will see will be in the present tense, while in other tenses and moods and whatnot, it will look more regular. So as you see here, Volō is, for the most part, a third conjugation verb, just like pharaoh. But take a look at the present indicative. This is probably the most irregular it gets. So Volō, I wish, vis, you wish, vult, he, she, it wishes. Volumus, we wish, vultus, y'all wish, volunt, they wish. Okay, so the volt there, that's the volt in Deus Vult, God wills it, okay, in fancy old-fashioned English, etc. Okay, so note just the irregularity in most of those present forms. Okay, if you look at the present subjunctive, it's pretty regular. It's just the stem looks a bit different than you might expect. So the stem for the subjunctive is veli, V-E-L-I, plus the regular personal ending. So velim, I should wish, velis, you should wish, velit, he, she, it should wish, etc. Okay, but if you go into the future or the imperfect, it's basically just V-O-L is the stem plus your standard forms after that, like a regular third conjugation verb. Okay. All right, the next one is Nōlō, nole, nolui. Okay, and it looks like this. And basically, Nōlō is nay plus Volō. So it's just you squished a nay into a Volō to get Nōlō. So it's the negation of Volō. It is I do not wish, I do not want. Okay, so Nōlō, nole, nolui. Okay. What's weird about this verb is that in the present indicative, you actually have some remnants of when it was just non-Volō. So if you look at what's underlined here, and actually I should have underlined this part as well, non-volt here. You'll see in the second and third singular and second plural, it's just non plus Volō wella. Okay, non vis I don't want, you don't want, non volt he she it doesn't want, non voltus y'all don't want. But otherwise, Nōlō, nolumus, nolunt, okay, are just a single word. If you look at the present subjunctive, it's just NOL plus it's just NOLI plus the personal endings. Okay, just as we saw VELI plus the personal endings for Volō. Okay, but again, in the future imperfect, etc., it's pretty regular, like a third conjugation verb. Okay, you're understanding the pattern here. So Mālō. So this is basically combining magis, which means more, and Volō, meaning wish. So it means I want more, which we can translate as to prefer. So Mālō, I prefer, right? And so there's the present indicative, Mālō, Māvis, Māvolt, Mālumus, Wāvoltis, Mālunt. Okay, so you can just see it's sort of Ma plus Volō, but squished together in many places. Okay, and then in the present subjunctive, okay, you got the stem MALI plus the personal endings. Okay, I should prefer, you should prefer, he, she, it should prefer, etc. Okay, and again, future perfect, other tenses, pretty regular. Okay, so Volō to wish, Nōlō to not wish, and Mālō to prefer. Okay, next order of business. Let's actually jump over to Proviso clauses. So Proviso clauses don't show up that much, but they're pretty straightforward. They're just another subordinate clause that is set off by a certain word. And the word that is set off is the conjunction dum modo, sometimes just dum. And it means provided that or so long as. So in other words, it's indicating a necessary condition for the main clause to happen, right? So provided that, hence proviso, okay? So an example I used in the vocab was civitatem merebant dum modo in exercitu pugnarent, okay? So they were earning their citizenship provided that they fought in the army. Okay, I was talking about the Roman auxilia, the basically non-Roman citizens fighting in the Roman army, and if they fight for 25 years, they will earn their Roman citizenship. Okay, so they were earning their citizenship so long as they were fighting in the army, or provided that they fought in the army. So just translate dum or dum modo as provided at or so long as if you see it setting off a subordinate clause with the subjunctive. One of the probably the most famous example of a proviso clause in Latin is this: oderint dum metuant, okay? Let them hate so long as they fear, okay? And this was a quotation attributed to the mad Emperor Caligula, okay? Let them hate me provided that they fear me. Okay, so hopefully that's a good example of remembering a proviso clause, though this one just uses dum instead of dum modo, so either of those will set it off. Okay, and again, oderint is a defective verb, by the way, that only shows up in it looks perfect but translates as present, hence it looks like a perfect subjunctive. Okay, but then the proviso clause is in the present subjunctive. Okay, so notice that the sequence of tenses is all nice here. Okay, all right, last thing in this chapter is degrees of adverbs. Okay, so basically you remember that an adverb is essentially an adjective. It's a word that describes an action, right? So an adjective describes a noun, an adverb describes an action. Okay, and just like adjectives, adverbs also can have degrees. Okay, so here's some examples. So any adjective can have an accompanying adverb, such as beautiful, quick, or good, right? So in English, the most common way to make an adjective and an adverb is to add on this ly suffix, so beautifully or quickly. Though we have some words in English that have irregular adverbs, so we don't say goodly, we say well. Okay? And usually, to make a comparative adverb in English, instead of changing the suffix, we keep the ly suffix, but then we add another word, more. Okay, more beautifully, more quickly, or better. Okay, so again, we have the word good turning into well, better, best, right, is an example of adverbs in English that are irregular even in comparison. Okay, and finally, to make a superlative adverb in English is the same way that we make a superlative adjective in English. We add the word most or very, but we're just keeping the ly to make it an adverb. So most or very beautifully, super beautifully, really beautifully, most very quickly, or best. Okay, so well, better, best. Okay, better and best work as adverbs as well as adjectives. Okay. So how does this work in Latin? Okay, well, let's start with regular adverbs. Okay, so let's start on the left here. So to make a positive adverb, you do one of two things. If you have a 2-1-2 adjective and you want to make it an adverb, you replace the 2-1-2 ending with a long E. So stultus, stulta, stultum means foolish or stupid. So stolte will mean foolishly, stupidly. Okay? Pulcher, pulchra, pulchris. Okay? Means beautiful. So pulchre means beautifully. What if you have a third declension adjective like gravis or similis? Okay, in that situation, you add iter, okay, as your adverbial suffix. Graviter, heavily, seriously. Similiter, similarly, in the same manner. If you have a single ending third declension adjective, like diligens or potenes or ingens, you take the stem, okay, diligent, and you just add an er. So diligenter, diligently, carefully. Okay? Now, to make a comparative adverb, you just take the stem, the same stems you used as here, and all you have to do is add ius. Okay? Stultius, okay, more foolishly. Pulchrius, more beautifully. Gravius, more seriously. Similius, more similarly. Diligentius, more carefully. Now you ask yourself, well, isn't the ius ending the same for the nominatives singular for a neuter comparative adjective? And you would be correct. And it can be confusing sometimes, so you're going to have to use context to determine whether this ius is denoting a comparative adverb or a comparative adjective in the neuter. That's life. Finally, the superlative. And the superlative is pretty straightforward. You're basically forming the superlative adjective, but you're replacing that us, 2-1-2 ending that ends every superlative adjective with a long E, just like you do with 2-1-2 adjectives in the positive degree. So, stultissimus okay, very foolish, becomes stultissime, most foolishly, very foolishly. Pulcherrime, okay, very beautifully. And notice that you're going to keep doing the thing where you have, for the semi-irregular adjectives, you'll do that in the adverbial form as well. Gravissime, okay, most seriously. Okay, similime, most similarly. Diligentissime, okay, most carefully. All right, so there you go. All right, here's what you're going to expect with irregular forms. Okay, so there are certain adverbs that kind of do irregular things, and I've underlined where they are most irregular here. So facile is actually the positive adverb of facilis, meaning easy. So facile means easily. Okay, so you don't say faciliter, you say facile. Okay, but it's regular after that, or rather semi-regular, facilime, most easily. What about for well, better, or best? Well, bene, okay, means well, and we already learned that. Melius optime, okay, as you would expect here, okay, better or best. Multum, okay, much, is the adverb here. More plus and pluribum, most. Magnopuer is something like great. Magis is more, and maxime is most. Parum is least, is little. Okay, I did little work today. Minus, less. Minime, least. Diu, for a long time. Diutius, for a longer time. Diutissime, for the longest time. Okay, so there's some irregular forms for you. All right, and I think that's it. So I'll see you next time. Valete discipuli.